Welcome to All This Math. This is Professor Parker, and today we're going to break down some more word problems. So, you see this word problem behind me on this board. First step, as always, is to read the word problem and try to gain some type of understanding of it. Understand what we're being asked to do, and then think about how can we translate all this verbiage and all this language into either an equation or an inequality or some type of expression that will enable us to answer the question that we're being asked to answer. So, the question reads, or the word problem reads, Nassim is interested in having at least a 90% average at the end of the marking period. On his first 4 tests, he earned a 96%, a 81%, a 87%, and a 94%. Write and solve an inequality, not an equation, but an inequality. All right, so that's a key word right there. Not an equation, an inequality. Write and solve an inequality that would allow us to find, or allow you to find the score that he needs on his 5th test to achieve that goal. All right? So, just like as if this was like an English test or like an ELA test, you want to go through the word problem and you want to identify the key information, the information that you're going to need to use to create your inequality, and then answer the question that you're being asked. The first thing I always recommend you do is this. I recommend that you go through and pull out or identify the thing that you're being asked to do. So it says to write and solve an inequality, right? So you know we need that. You're going to write and solve an inequality, not an equation. But what is that inequality going to do? Allow us to find out the score he needs on his 5th test. So I need to know score he needs on his 5th test. The score he needs on his 5th test, right? Because if he's, as a student, you're like, okay, well, I'm trying to get a 90 in the class because I want to get an A. I want to get an A in the class. I need a 90 to get an A. So then that's going to dictate, okay, well, how hard do I really need to study for this 5th test if I want to get an A in the class, right? Because you don't want to just guess and say, oh, well, you know, if I get a 70, I'm going to still get an A. You can't guess. And when we have math skills, we don't need to guess, right? We can know exactly how much we need to get what we want, all right? So this is our question. We want to know the score he needs on his 5th test in order to give him this A. So he needs at least, and that's important information too, because he needs at least a 90, right? At the end of the day, the end of the marking period. On his first 4 tests, he earned 96, 81, 87, and a 94. All right? So, now I want you to think about this. What is the formula that you use when you want to calculate the average of anything? Think about that, right? Think back. You probably used it before, but if you don't know what it is, it's like this. You take up all the different items or all the different scores, you add them up, and then divide by the number of scores. So if he wanted to know, for example, what's his average right now, and everything is weighted equally. Now, if they're different weights, then that's another conversation that we could talk about in another video. But right now, if everything is weighted equally, and we wanted to know his average right now, all we would do is take 96 plus 81 plus 87 and plus 94, and then divide that by what number? By 4, because there's 4 different tests, right? But now what we're trying to figure out is, well, it's going to be 5 tests. But what does that 5th score have to be, right? In order to get at least a 90. All right? Now that word at least is important too. We're going to talk about that also. So let's go to the formula for an average, right? The formula for an average says you add up all the different items, or all the different scores, all the different numbers, and divide by the number of numbers. Now the 5th score we don't know. So we need to, as usual, pick a variable for it. So I'm going to just call it X. I'm going to say let X equal the score in the 5th test, or the 5th test score. So let's write that down on your paper. So you say let X equal 5th test score. And we call it X because we don't know what it is. That's the whole purpose of us doing this problem, so we can figure out what X is equal to, okay? So now we go to our average formula, right? What's the formula for average? Add up all the test scores and divide by the number of test scores. That will equal your average, right? But this is an inequality. So it's going to be a little bit different because we're trying to figure out what he has to do to get at least a 90, not exactly a 90. If we were trying to figure out what score he needed to get exactly a 90, that would be an equation. But since it's talking about at least a 90, it's an inequality. So at least or at most, when you see phrases like that, think inequality. When it's telling you exactly what score he needs, it's an equation. But the formula for average doesn't change though. So let's do this. We do 96. We add up all the scores that we know, right? So first we got 96 plus 81 plus 87 plus 94. And then that fifth test too, which is x. We don't know that yet. So that's plus x. And then we divide these by how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because that's the formula for an average, right? Now, it's not going to be equal to 90 because he doesn't want to get a 90. He wants to get at least a 90. He wants to know what x has to be in order to get at least a 90. When we see a phrase like at least means it could be 90, it could be 91, it could be 92, 93, 94, and so on. You can get 100, right? But in order to get at least a 90, we need a symbol. So we're not going to use the equal sign. We're going to use the greater than or equal sign, right? Because it could be greater than or equal to 90. That's what at least a 90 looks like in math language. In math language, at least a 90 looks like this, all right? Because it could be greater than 90. Greater than 90 is like I said, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, right? Or it could be equal to 90, right? That little bar right there means equal to 90, all right? So when you see at least a number, think greater than or equal to. It wouldn't be less than or equal to, because less than or equal to would mean, okay, it could be a 90, a 89, a 88, a 87, 86. He doesn't want that grade. Nassim don't want that grade. Nassim wants at least a 90. All right? So this is our inequality right here. Now we got the inequality. Realistically, the hard part is over. Now we just have to solve for x in the inequality. All right? So the first thing I would do is, because I want to isolate x by itself, I'm first going to add up all four of these numbers and kind of consolidate them into one term. So I'm going to add those up. Let me see. I'm going to do a little bit of mental math. 90 plus 80 gives me 170. 170 plus 80 is going to give me 250. 250 plus 90 is going to give me 340, right? And then I'm going to add the ones place numbers. So my 346, 347, 354, plus 4 is 358. So I'm pretty sure that's right. I did this already. So we got 358 plus x over 5 is greater than or equal to 90. All right? So always understand when you go from one step to the next in any problem, always understand what happened. Like, where did this 358 come from? And you should be able to explain where it came from. The sum of 96, 81, 87, and 94. That's where it came from. Right? Yeah, that's where it came from. All right. Now, next thing I want to do, I'm still trying to get x by itself. So I need to get rid of 358, and I also need to get rid of 5. But I'm going to get rid of 5 first. Because if I try to get rid of 358 first, it's going to get real messy. I'm going to get rid of the 5 first. So in order to get rid of the 5, I need to do the opposite operation that the 5 is involved in. So if the 5 is being divided, because it's in the denominator, the opposite of division, of course, is what? Multiplication. So that means I need to multiply to get rid of this 5. So I'm going to do this. Multiply by 5 on the left, but I also got to multiply by 5 on the right in order to keep the inequality balanced. Whatever I do on the left side, I also do on the right side. Okay? Now, the purpose of multiplying by 5 is because what happens is I can cross cancel these 5s. And they turn into 1s, leaving me with just 358 plus x. Now over here, I got 90 times 5. Multiplication facts say 9 times 5 is 45. And then I just reattach the 0. I drop the 0 off, do 9 times 5, I get 45. Then I reattach the 0. It gives me 450. So now what we're saying is, okay, 358 plus what is greater than or equal to 450? I get x by itself by doing the opposite of a positive 358. The opposite of a positive 358 is a negative 358. Negative 358 as an action is represented as subtracting 358. So what I need to do is subtract 358 on the left and also subtract 358 on the right. So then I got x is greater than or equal to what? The difference between 450 and 358, right? So that's going to be 92. So we're saying that he needs at least a 92 on his fifth test in order to get a 90% average in that class. All right. That's one thing I want to look at. So I want to make sure my math is right on this, like this 358. Let me just make sure. So 90 and 90 is 180. 80 and 80 is 160. 180 and 160, that's 200 plus the 80 and 200, and then the 90 and 90 is 180. 180 and 160. 200. Put my hundreds together. And then let me just 90 and 90 is 180. 80 and 80 is 160. So 200 and 140, that's 340. Right. 340, 347, 354, 358. Yeah, okay, I'm good. Yeah. Doubted myself for a minute. Probably shouldn't have done that. But anyway, yeah, 358 is good. All right, so we see how we get x is greater than or equal to 92. So he needs at least, again, greater than or equal to simple means at least a 90, at least a 90. So he needs at least a 92 on the fifth test to get a 90, right? Now, if he gets higher than a 92 on that fifth test, then he could get higher than a 90, right? Okay, if he gets a 93, 94, 95, 96, if he gets 100 on that fifth test, then he's going to have higher than a 90. But that's not what he was asking. He wasn't being that specific. He just wanted to know, Nasim just wanted to know, well, what do I have to do to get at least an 80? I'm sorry, not 80, at least a 90. All right? So that's what we do. And this is how you do these problems. Again, word problems, break them down, read them, right? Just like you're reading a book, right? Read them, identify what you're being asked to do. All right? That's usually somewhere that can be found in the end somewhere. And then also identify the key information. Identify your key information. Label it, right? Just like you would in a reading passage. When you're looking for main ideas, characters' names, supporting details, do the same thing. That's all this is. This is a story. That's all it is. A word problem is just a story. That's really all it is. Treat it like that. Except in this story, you translate it from the word problem into a mathematical statement or some type of equation or inequality or some type of mathematical expression. And then you work it out so you can find the answer to what you're looking for. That's all you're doing. All right. Now, please, as usual, like the video, subscribe to the page, share the video, let people know about it. And as always, remember that there's all this math all around you.